Hello and welcome to another very, very special edition of the Magpie Circle podcast as we count down to the 21-22 season. Who better to have on the show tonight, one-on-one, than Notts County's new club captain, Kyle Cameron. Kyle, delighted to have you.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
We really are. And the decor looks a little bit similar. So one of your neighbours then is Richard Brinley.
Yeah, he lives in the apartments as well, a few blocks down.
Hey, just about any footballer who's anybody in Nottingham over the last 10 years lives in that very nice little estate, including Sven. I was telling Brins, Sven had the penthouse apartment. So I presume that's what you've got there, is it?
I wish. Couldn't take my hands to get that one.
Right. Okay. Club captain. Fairly young age. What's that mean to you? I think you were vice captain at Torquay. Talk me through it.
Yeah. Obviously, I spoke to the gaffer over the summer, and I realised that the captain's role was kind of up for grabs. So I kind of just put it in his head. As soon as I signed, I said to him, I'd like to put myself forward for that role. Do you know what I mean? I've been vice captain at Torquay for 3 years, so I kind of learned a little bit off Asa Hall and what the sort of the role entitles. And obviously, I think this is a little bit more of a step up. It's a bit of a bigger club, bit of a bigger fan base, sort of a little bit more pressure on the situation as a skipper. So I just said to them, look, Gaffer, I'd like to sort of put my name forward for it, and I think I'll do a good job. Obviously, that's what I'm hoping to do. And from the pickers was obviously still a little bit of a surprise with the sort of the older lads that we have here and the sort of leaders that are within the squad. I mean, I was quite impressed by the amount of leaders that we do have in this squad. There's a lot of people that speak up and a lot of lads that sort of drive standards every day. So it's kind of, I feel like it's going to be kind of an easier group to lead, because it's not all going to be on my shoulders to sort of talk and demand things. There's a lot of other lads that'll do that as well. So I'm just really proud to sort of be given a club captain's role at this club at the age of 24, and I'm really hoping and looking forward to relishing the opportunity.
How did the gaffer break the news to you then that you're going to be skipper?
It was Dyla just said, you and can you come to the gaffer's office after lunch with Kyle Wotton? I want to talk to you. So I kind of had the thought in my head, obviously with us being captain a couple of times in pre-season and Kyle being captain a couple of times in pre-season, I sort of knew what was coming. And then obviously he sort of picked me as the captain. He just said, I'm going to have you as captain, Kyle as vice. Both got different attributes, both bring different things to the table. So I think these are both sort of grow into the role and develop as players and people under them roles. So it was a good positive meeting.
Well, congratulations. And it's, I'm sure all Notts fans hearing this would think, great, you've put yourself forward, confidence in your own abilities. All becomes clear now with obviously modelling of the team kits, doesn't it? Because you two were front, left and centre. Because when we had Brins on a couple of weeks ago, do you know about his male modelling?
I've heard little stories every now and again, yeah.
Because I was trying to work out, did you pull rank? Because clearly Brins has modelled Borussia Mönchengladbach kits, England kits, and yet you got first dibs on the kit launch this year, and he didn't get anywhere near it, did he?
No, I'm not sure. I just kind of got a text off someone in the club, Alice, who sort of works behind the scenes with the media and stuff, and she just said, you and Kyle Wotton are going to be doing the kits if that's all right. So I just said, yeah, no problem. It's publicity ended here, bit of good publicity, and I enjoy doing stuff like that. So it's something a little bit different for me, but something I was sort of happy to do.
So who's the better male model, you or Brins? Who carries? Does Brins not like the? Can you carry off what is it? Glimmer green and asphalt off better than Brins?
Well, I think with the teams that you've just rhymed off there and the sort of stuff he's done, I think he's got a little bit more experience than me.
Okay, so you are starting to settle in a little bit. Tell me about the gaffer and what he said to you, the influence, how he persuaded you to come, because you may not know this story. You're obviously a proud Geordie. You're a Newcastle fan.
Yeah.
I'm going back to before you were born. There was a young Northeast lad called Tommy Johnson, and he came down when he was 11 years old, and he was a mad Newcastle fan, and his dad was an even madder Newcastle fan. And Tommy came to Notts when he was 11, and then when he got the chance at 14, told his dad, "I don't want to go to Newcastle. I want to come to Notts County." And his dad said, "Well, you're not. You're a Newcastle fan." And Tommy, 14, said, "No, I'm going to go to Notts County," because when I first came down for a training session on a Sunday afternoon, when Notts were in the old top flight, believe it or not, I'm that old. He said the guy turned up to take the coaching with the under 11s. He said, and I couldn't believe it. It was Jimmy Cyril, the first team manager of Notts County in the old top flight. And he said when he turned up and took the session, he said that was the moment I decided I was going to sign for Notts County. Talk to me a little bit about the conversations you had with Ian and his vision, his philosophy, and how you see yourself fitting into that.
Yeah, obviously the conversation happened pretty quickly after the sort of the playoff final. I think it was the Monday we had a conversation before I come down on Tuesday to have a look around and have a sort of a more in-depth and a further conversation about things. And he just said, "Look, I want you to play in the left of a back three." He said, obviously defensively, I've seen the clips, very good. He said, but for you to take yourself to the next level, I think you need to be in a team that's playing out from the back, passing, to sort of show what you can do on the ball, because obviously you can show people what you can do defensively. It's that side of the game that's going to sort of entice bigger teams to look at you, better clubs to look at you for further down the line in your career, kind of thing. So we sat down on a Tuesday, and I was quite impressed actually. I sort of turned up, sat down with him in his office, and he had clips from me at Torquay ready to show me. He was like, "This is what I want you to do for us." Sort of stepping in with the ball, finding passes. And he said, if you can do it there in a back four, in a team that's not renowned for passing out, you're going to be able to do it here, no problem at all, with the back three system and how everyone wants to get on the ball and sort of build up from the backs what we want to do. And then he moved it on to sort of showing us stats of how I done last year and how I compare to people in this league. And I was really impressed with how in depth the sort of go with the way of thinking and things. So for me, after that conversation, I was impressed. Obviously, spoke to my agent, and my agent has a client who's worked with him before, and he said he's one of the best coaches he's worked with. So I was already sort of halfway there to thinking, yeah, this looks like it could be a good move for us. Showed us around the facilities. Obviously, the stadium, the training facilities are absolutely superb. I don't really think you're going to get much better from here to League One. Really, you're going to have to be going into League One before you sort of match the sort of facilities that Notts are offering. And just, it was always positive. It was always a good conversation. It was always saying, like, I want to improve you, I want to develop you as a player. And I think for me in my career, after having a lot of games under my belt over the last 3 years at Torquay, the next sort of stage was getting back to how it was when I was younger, of real sort of man management, developing me as a player off the field, not just on the field, sort of on the training pitch and things like that. So it was just a really impressive day out for me, and the conversations that we had were always very positive. And I thought, for me, it's a no-brainer really. I want to develop and I want to get better, and the gaffer here seems to know how to do that with players.
Presumably there were other offers. Had you kind of made your own mind up where you were looking to move to? Was it a case of could you get a second promotion with Torquay? Because it must have been quite a big state of flux going in towards the end of what was a very bizarre season anyway.
Yeah, obviously there was other offers, and like I've mentioned before in other interviews, there was offers in the league, but for me it was a case of going somewhere where I'm going to enjoy everything day in, day out, the training, living here. Do you know what I mean? They showed us around the apartments, and a lot of places were saying, like, you have to pay for your own accommodation, can't we can't do this, can't do that. They showed us where I'm going to be living. Do you know what I mean? It's a good area, it's a nice place to live. The facilities are good, training ground's good. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was sort of a thing of, I don't want to be in a team that's kind of scrapping around in the middle of League Two, not really doing much. I want to be somewhere that's going to be winning games week in, week out, and looking at adding another promotion to my CV, and that's what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? After I sort of had a taste of that promotion from the Conference South, and then being so close last year, for me, it's just about winning things. I've always felt like I'm a winner, and I want to win more things in my career. And if I can do that here, that's obviously what us as a squad want, and the staff, and obviously all the fans want as well. So for me, it was sort of going somewhere where I'm going to be winning, not week in, week out, but I mean most weeks, and sort of looking to add promotions on the CV.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on about both Nottingham as a city and the area in which you are. I know it well. I grew up in the grotty bit called Snenton. And when you drive in, or whether you're jogging, because it's not far, is it? You're going past the racecourse and you look up, you'll see these big woods, yeah, in front of you. Big wood. That's Collick Woods. That was my playground. That was my garden 50 years ago. And Notts under Neil Warnock and under Howard Wilkinson, Jimmy Cyril, they used to do, I might be giving the gaffer some ideas here, you might not like this, best cross country. There is not a flat bit in Collick Woods, uphill, downhill. So if you ever fancy going for a run, not just jogging around the racecourse, it's all flat and easy there. Go up them one in, and the club's PR man, Nick Richardson, knows, because I've taken him up there. You go up them 1 in 3 hills. You'll get fit going up there, I'll tell you. Well, even Doyle would struggle getting up some of them hills.
Yeah, I'm thankful it's end of pre-season that you've mentioned that. I don't think we'll do any of that, so thank God for
that. What about the little guy, Kell Roberts? You go back a long way with him. What role did he play? Did you chat with him before agreeing to come? He caught up on a few things.
To be fair, I kept it pretty quiet. I didn't sort of mention it until I was coming in to sign. So I spoke to him obviously after I had signed and stuff, and he just said obviously the gaffer's sort of great. He has a set way of playing. It's very sort of black and white. You know what your sort of job is. And he said you'll enjoy it. Yeah, the lads are good. Obviously, like I said, the full package here is good. I want to be somewhere where you're enjoying everything day in, day out. Do you know what I mean? And for me, being here is where I'm going to enjoy my football. And he had nothing but good things to say really about the place and about the gaffer. So we've sort of had a good catch up over the last few weeks, and we've been doing a few things here and there, like going to cricket and stuff, and having a few chit chats. So it's been good to sort of see him and sort of catch up.
Yeah, my spies tell me. Hey, I have a lot of spies in Nottingham. I'm a Nottingham boy. You were checking or getting your tickets for, I don't know whether it was for the Trent Rockets, weren't you, today on the day of this?
Yeah, I was at the test match today actually, day off. So there was 4 of us went down. Me, Carl, Lacey, and Ed went down just to have a little bit of food and watch a little bit of cricket. So it was a good day out. Very
good, the cricket, by the way. They run it very well, Nottinghamshire Cricket.
Yeah, very good.
Great ground. Do it very well. Let's just wind back a little to Kyle Cameron, the schoolboy, and Kyle growing up in your beloved Newcastle.
Yeah.
So were you a proper Newcastle fan as such? Because it is a religion up there, isn't it? It's a religion up there.
Yeah, I'd say I've always been a Newcastle fan, but when I was really young, like I mentioned before to you, one of my sort of football idols when I was growing up was Thierry Henry, as I played as sort of a centre forward winger, believe it or not, when I was growing up. Yeah. So sort of Arsenal and that was sort of my so-called second team, but Newcastle was obviously always the sort of the team that I supported growing up, especially obviously when I signed there when I was 9.
Was football in the blood? Was your dad anything much of a footballer, or?
Yeah. My dad played for Leicester Reserves. And he'd done a lot of games in the Northern League back home, Blythe Spartans, Bedlington Terriers. So it's sort of always been in the blood, and he would always take us. He used to run a Sunday league team obviously on a Sunday. And from about the age of 2, he would always take us. So from that age, I'm sort of mixing in with blokes in a change room. So it's always kind of been in the blood, and it's always been something that I've wanted to do from a very young age.
So what was the Sunday league team called then?
It was called Pegswood.
Yeah.
So sort of a little place not far from where I live. Proper Sunday league team for the blokes, you know what I mean? So I'd go there, I'd have a kick around obviously on the side of the pitch. The committee would look after us while my dad's playing. And then I'd get chucked in the cold showers in the change rooms after, get myself washed, and then would go down to the social club on a Sunday afternoon. So I'm sort of sat there at 2, 3, 4, 5 years of age, with a half pint of Coke and a packet of crisps, sort of listening to what the blokes got up to on a Saturday night. So sort of got my eyes opened from an early age, and I would just sit there, and the lads would take us one by one and would go and play pool, and they'd sort of teach us how to play pool and things like that. And it's something I've always had fond memories of, and I always look back with. I mean, happy that I've done it, and it's something that's always been a really good memory for me.
You can't beat Sunday football. You cannot beat Sunday morning football. Did it for 35 years. You can't beat it. Great character building, great stories, great banter, driving here, there, and everywhere. The pictures, the reps. No, it's great. There's nothing better. Now you say your dad was at Leicester, played a bit for Leicester.
Yeah, reserves.
What's his first name? Do you mind me asking?
Mark Cameron.
Because I was at Leicester from 91 to 2005.
I think he was there more 80s, I think.
Right. Okay.
Sort of when he was, I think, around about, it must have been from about 16 to 20, maybe around that sort of time. So it would have been a little bit before your time.
I'd have been probably like Ali Mauchlan, some of them. Ask your dad if he remembers Alan Birchinall, because Alan was at the club, and
right,
style legend. All right, he will remember Birch, I promise you. And ex-Knox, a Nottingham boy as well. Okay, so you've been thrown in the showers, having your glass of Coke as a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old for Pegswood. You got picked up from Newcastle at a very early age, yeah?
Yeah, 9, but the first come sniffing sort of when I was 5 or 6 playing with Crompton Juniors. But my dad sort of said, I don't want you to, well, he didn't obviously say this to me, but he's probably said later on down the line, he said, obviously I didn't want to throw you into that environment. I wanted you just to enjoy your football first and make sure it's something that you really want to do before you sort of throw you kind of in the deep end and in the academy environment.
Okay. And so who was in your alumni? Who was in your year?
In my age group, we had obviously me, Kell Roberts, Dan Bolassa, who's at Rotherham now, Adam Armstrong, who's at Blackburn, Freddie Woodman, who was on loan at Swansea last year. They're just to sort of name a few of the sort of ones that have done well for themselves.
Which, to be fair, in 1 year or even 2 years, that's a good number that go on to make their way in the professional game, because it is very much the 1% of 1%, isn't it?
Yeah, we sort of had probably one of the best age groups at the time. So in our age group, like I mentioned, you've also got Liam Gibson, who's at just one promotion with Morecambe. Sort of ones off the top of my head, they're the ones I can sort of remember. And then you've obviously got the couple from the year below and a couple below that, and obviously Matty and Sean Longstaff. In the year above, we've got like Alex Galid, who's just went back to Bradford. And so we had a sort of a good age group around me, and a year above and a year below. And we'd always be the sort of the teams that were doing well week in, week out at the academy levels. And I think obviously it's sort of a testament to everyone for how far they've actually got in their careers, and how sort of so many of us have made a career out of it from one age group.
So you mentioned Kell with you from the age of 9. You said earlier that in the very early days you were like you weren't a defender, you were more of a striker. Was Kell always kind of the tricky, skillful little man, or?
Well, you test my memory, yeah. It's a long time ago, but from what I remember, yeah, he's always been the same. especially more so from sort of 16 upwards. He hasn't really changed his game much. He's always been that winger that plays off the right, cuts in on his left and buries them in the back of the net. So he's always been sort of that same kind of player.
So you're coming through the ranks. So would you have been put in digs at Newcastle, or would you have been able to stay at the family home?
No, I stayed in the family home in Northumberland. So it was about a 25-minute drive. So parents would drive me in 2, 3, 4 times a week.
So clearly the ambition is to play for Newcastle. That's very, very difficult to come through an academy system and get into a Premier League team, your hometown club. And it's been, I guess, Newcastle up and down the divisions while you've been around. What was going through your mind then? So you were, I believe, you were spotted, internationally. You were capped. We'll come on to this in a moment. Yeah. You were capped by England under 16 level. Yeah. What goes through your mind as a teenager then? Do you think, right, I'm going to be all right here, or yeah. What happens?
I think when you first obviously join up when you're 9, 10, obviously the only thing in your mind is wanting to play for Newcastle. And I think obviously the older I got, sort of 18, 19, I sort of realised that you've got to be sort of really special and really highly regarded to sort of get a chance to play for Newcastle United first team. And if you want to play for them, you're going to have to be sort of in and around it at about 20 at the latest, really. So for me, I think once I got to that sort of age of 18, 19, 20, and obviously I wasn't in around the first team, I think the thing for me was to make a career out of it, to know that I'm probably going to have to move on one day, and that I need to just do what I can to be in the best sort of shape physically, mentally, sort of CV wise, going out on loan, being in the best sort of position to be wanted by clubs further down the pyramid.
Here's a funny question, and I'll let you explain. Do you consider yourself English or Scottish?
I think I'm lucky to be half and half, really. Do you know what I mean? Scotland's sort of the one I've played for most recently. So I always do look out for them and see how they're doing and stuff. So it's kind of just a split down the middle, really. I wouldn't say I support one or the other. Do you know what I mean? I hope both of them do well, and I sort of support both of them when I can.
Because the background to this is you were by England under 16 level, and then you switched, and Scotland capped you at something like under 17, under 19, under 21. If viewers are thinking, hang on, what's going on here? So what happened there in terms of transferring, wrong word, but you're playing for England at 16, and then a year or two later you're in Scotland. What happened on that journey? What did your dad have to say and things like that?
So under 16s, so how it come about was 2 boys went to the night cup, got selected from the night cup where all the sort of England scouts are, to go to a camp. I was injured at the time, come back from injury, started playing under 18s after about a month or so, and then all of a sudden I got told to go to the sort of the academy manager's office and said, like, you've been selected to play in the Victory Shield for England. And at first I thought that I'd made a mistake. Like, I didn't think it was me. I thought it was meant to be the other lad who was a centre half who went to the camp. So it was a bit of a surprise. So yeah, I played about, I think I must have played maybe 8 or 9 times that season in the 16s. Come to a new season, obviously you move up an age group, different manager. And I just wasn't getting called up. I was in provisional squads. I was in sort of a standby list. So if people got injured, I would be called up. This maybe happened 3 or 4 times. And then I think there was an email went round, obviously must went round clubs, it's circled around clubs about if anyone has any sort of Scottish in their family who can represent Scotland. Obviously I was one of them, so put my name forward for that. Went to sort of like a a training camp in England full of actual all English players. So I was probably about 25, 30 players from all different clubs around the sort of the country. Was selected from there to then go and represent England under 17s in the European qualifiers. So for me at that time, it was a case of international football. It's a good thing for me to be playing international football, whether that was for England or Scotland. And it was obviously apparent that it wasn't going to be for England that season. So I chose to go with Scotland and kind of never looked back. And I think it was kind of the best thing I'd done, really. Sort of taking that opportunity where I can. I thoroughly enjoyed my time through all the age groups with Scotland.
So, where is the Scottishness on your family side? Would that be on your mum's side, your dad's side?
Yeah, it's on both sides of my family, going obviously way back, but it's more recent on my mum's side. My mum's dad was Scottish, so that's how I qualify.
Now the reason I ask is that Brian Kilcline, another one from the Jurassic era, from my early Notts County supporting days. He's the only Nottingham-born player ever to lift the FA Cup. He was captain of Coventry when they won it in 85. And he was born English, but his dad and most of the rest of the family were from the Republic of Ireland. And Howard Wilkinson, who was the manager with Jimmy Cyril, was also manager of the England under-21s. And Brian Kilcline kept getting called up by the Republic of Ireland. And his dad said, right, you're going to play for the Republic of Ireland. And Howard and Brian would then go and speak to Howard Wilkinson. And Howard said, no, you're not. And so we did a story like this. And I said, well, didn't your dad insist you went? He says, well, I listened to my manager rather than my dad.
Yeah.
He said, and my manager told me I wasn't to play for the Republic of Ireland. I was going to play, because he was only 17 at the time, said he was going to put me in the England under-21s. And so his dad went mad for 18 months, and then Howard put him in. And it's very interesting how Brian, who's a big 6'4" giant of a man, just said, did what my manager told me. The manager was more important. He didn't want to upset the manager, didn't want to upset his dad either, but it was the manager that called the shots, in albeit a different era in those days.
Yeah, it's always a similar thing with me. I mean, I spoke to the academy manager and the youth team coach, who was Dave Watson at the time, and I wasn't too sure, as I kind of had my heart set on playing for England, but it turned out probably one of the best things I've done. I mean, all the memories and sort of things I've been able to do in football and places I've been able to travel to, thanks to being called to Scotland many a time. It's been great. Do you know what I mean? I got to the semi-final of a European finals with Scotland. I think it was the first time in a long time that they'd ever qualified for an actual major final. So things like that, do you know what I mean? I got to experience a lot at a young age, which I think has obviously helped me throughout my career.
Okay, so you are clocking up quite a few years at Newcastle. You're getting junior teenage honours with both England and Scotland. And then when I look at your loan sheet, it is really genuinely a case of have boots will travel, isn't it? So looking at this, Workington in the Northern Premier League, York City League 2, Newport League 2, Queen of the South in Scotland.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you end up at all those places? And I mean, Workington's an interesting one, isn't it? It was one of the, criticism is the wrong word, but one of the challenges people talk about the academy system is you play an awful lot of age group football.
Yeah.
And then it can be a huge cultural change to suddenly play big grown men, 15 stone, and all you've played before is 10 stone, 5'6" players and all the rest of it. I'm guessing it helps being 6'3", but going from Newcastle to Workington, I'm guessing was a cultural shock, wasn't it?
Well, definitely. So it come about I moved up to the under 23 age group, and I was still sort of playing Scotland 19s at the time. For whatever reason, politics behind it and stuff, I just wasn't getting picked to play. So for me, it was a case of, if I want to be playing international football still, I need to be playing football regardless. So I went and spoke to the first team coach, who was Paul Simpson at the time. And he said, "Oh, my son's at Workington, so I can get you in there." And I was like, "Yeah, perfect. That's fine by me." He was like, "We'll send you there for a month." And sort of that's how it sort of started. I went there for a month, done really well. Scored on my debut 2 minutes in, so couldn't have went any better. And then from there, I sort of moved on to York, and got appearances in the league. So it was always a case for me of just playing football. It didn't matter where it was, who it was for. It was just a case of getting an opportunity to play football. That's just what I want to do. I mean, I'm not one of these players like sitting on the bench. I like to be playing week in, week out. So for me, wherever it was going to take to play football, it was where I was going to go.
Did the sounds like it didn't, but did the physicality of, Northern Premier League, League Two with York and Newport in any way phase you, or was it a case of like duck to water, this isn't an issue?
No, well, I was obviously a hell of a lot lighter than what I am now back then. So I mean, now I'm sitting at sort of 86, 87 kilos. Back then I was about 72 kilos when I was in the league. So for me, it was just sort of learning how to sort of deal with them bigger players, and sort of learning how to sort of adapt my game against playing against big physical blokes. You know what I mean? And I think I learned a lot over that them sort of 3-4 loan spells. Sort of looking back, I sometimes watch clips from my York time, and I do generally think, I don't know how I was actually being picked to play week in, week out. From then to now, I think there's been a massive change in my game. Just experience, that's all it is. Experience different ways of football, different styles of play, different coaches, and obviously development physically as well helped a lot. But like I said, it was just about playing football at the time. And like I go back to what I said about knowing that I probably wasn't going to play for Newcastle first team, but it was a case of making myself appealing to other clubs when it comes to the time when I've got to leave Newcastle.
Okay, so nicely on to when you do leave Newcastle, which clearly must have been a big decision. And it wasn't like you left Newcastle to go down the road to Darlington or Hartlepool or whatever. You go to Torquay, which is a bit of a trek. What was that like when you effectively cut that umbilical cord with Newcastle?
Well, coming out of it, I sort of thought, being young and naive, I thought, well, I've been in a Prem club, I should be able to get a league club, no problem at all. I've played the last 2 years in the league on loan, so getting a league club shouldn't be a problem at all. So it was one of them summers of speaking to my agent every day, my old agent who I had previously, speaking to him as much as I could, and he was saying, this club wants you to come in to train, that club wants you to come in to train. They're just working through a list at the moment. Do you know what I mean? All the old cliches of, yeah, we'll get you in somewhere, and just nothing come about. I sort of had a phone call off the then Torquay manager, who was Gary Hours, at the beginning of the summer, saying we wanted to come down. He's from Newcastle.
Ex-Notts County player as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was a Gateshead. And obviously must have I think he spoke to a scout at Newcastle who said, who off the release just to sign. And my name was one of the names that the scout put forward to him, so he gave us a ring. And being brutally honest, I didn't really fancy it. I thought, like I said, being young and naive, I thought, man, I'm a bit better than that. I'm a bit better than the Conference South. Surely I can sort of stay in the league. So I went, eventually, after 2 or 3 weeks of just back and forth with my agent and club saying, yeah, we'll bring him to train, but not yet. We'll wait till pre-season. I just got sort of sick and tired of it. So I went down there for 2 or 3 days, and after the first training session, he was like, right, we want to offer you a contract. And I said to him, right, okay, I've made a promise to Barnet that I'm going to go there next week to sort of train with them. So I'll let you know in a week's time if that's okay. And he said, yeah, that's no problem. So went to Barnet, trained for a couple of days, played 45 minutes in a pre-season friendly, and the way I was sort of getting treated there was typical trialist. I was just getting kind of treated like a bit of rubbish, really. And I thought, nah, I don't want this. I want to be somewhere where I'm wanted, where I'm going to be playing every week. So I had a long conversation with my dad. I said, look, what do you think I should do? And he said, well, it's a good opportunity. You're going to be playing every week. It's a chance for you to play men's football, and it's a club that should be looking to get promoted. So I think I took the decision to go down there and sign. And like I said, I've never looked back, and it was probably the best decision I've ever made for my career. Going down there, getting a promotion, being vice captain for 3 years, and being so close to getting another one. It's I haven't got a bad word to say about my time there, and it was thoroughly enjoyable.
Do you get homesick at all? Because it is literally one corner of the country to the other, isn't it?
No, not really. Like you say, with my loan list, I've lived in a lot of different places for a long periods of time, and for me, I've always enjoyed going to new places and living in sort of new environments and living in different cities. So I was always fine with that. My parents were really good. I'm an only child, so they would come down once, twice a month when they could. So I would see them quite regularly anyway. So it wasn't a case of being homesick at all. It was fine for me.
Very good. You ended up, I think, just over 100 appearances for Torquay. So clearly you didn't miss many. You were pretty much ever present down there. Gary Johnson, did Gary Johnson replace Gary
Yeah.
out?
Yeah. So he replaced him after about 9 games, I think it was.
Yeah. And Gary's been around the block, got several promotions on his CV. Wily old fox. Notts County and Gary don't always get on. We've had a few scrapes, believe it or not. I'm sure he didn't tell you about the time he was manager of Peterborough, the Battle of London Road. And Craig Short and about 19 players all got embroiled in a massive fight in the tunnel when Gary was manager of Peterborough, which is a bit light that night. Yeah, no, I think glossed over that. So he does get a bit of flack from Notts fans, I have to say. I mean, let me get this right. Penultimate game for Torquay was obviously against us, wasn't it? What was that one like?
Yeah, the semi-final, obviously, it was.
Because you got put out wide left, didn't you? So would you have come up against Dion Kelly Evans, DKE, and did he whack you? I would have been surprised if he didn't. You are, after all, only 6'3".
He couldn't get any arrows for a start, so he didn't have a chance to whack us. No, it was one of them where I'd obviously spoke to Gary Johnson, sort of the back end of my injury, the weeks leading up to the playoffs. And he was saying, look, we're two centre halves are playing well. We were thinking of playing a back three, but we just feel so much stronger and rigid in a back four that we don't really want to change it. I said, yeah, fine. I said, Joe and Shez at the time had been having good seasons. They're both playing really well. So sort of said, yeah, it's fine. That's nothing I can do. But he said, but we want to get you on the pitch as you're a big player for us. So he said, we're thinking about playing you either up front or left mid, depending if Danny Wright's fit or not. So I think me being obviously excited to play a different position, and so I was sort of like, yeah, no problem, that's fine by me. Do you know what I mean? As long as I'm on the pitch and playing, that's the main thing. So yeah, I played left mid in the semis, come off with cramp, and then I played left mid in the final as well. Same thing, come off with cramp. Different kind of fitness. Obviously, I hadn't really been fit since about February time with my injury, so I just got sort of chucked straight in the deep end and done the sort of best job I could out there.
And 2 disallowed goals, wasn't it, from you, from set pieces? I mean, you must have really gone through the mill, physically and emotionally. with that final, yeah.
Yeah, like I say, the final, I was going in with the mindset that week of I just couldn't see us getting beat. I just couldn't see when we was at talk. I just couldn't see us getting beat. We had dispatched Hartlepool 5-0 at their place earlier in the season, and
Yeah.
we got beat narrowly 1-0 at home when I was injured. But I thought this is going to be the time that we get promoted, another promotion on the CV sort of thing. Like you say, to start the game well, score a goal in the first 10 minutes, for it then to be ruled out for nothing really when you look back at it. Like I say, it was a roller coaster of a final, really up and down. Happy to score, then choked off, and then happy to score again, and then choked off again, and then being subbed and sort of just having to sit there and watch it bite my nails. And believe it or not, it was when Lucas scored, it was actually quite emotional. For to see something so bizarre like that happen. Do you know what I mean? There's not going to be many playoff finals, I think, ever again that's going to have a goalkeeper who scores. And I think in the back of my mind, I thought it's meant to be today if you keep our scores, and then he goes and saves 2 penalties in the shootout as well. And obviously we just couldn't get the job done. But it's an experience that I'll always look back on fondly, and I think it's going to sort of stand me in good stead in the future if I ever have to come back to the playoff final again. And you know the emotions, and you know what to sort of expect, and the atmosphere that you're going to get with it. So it was a day that I enjoyed, but it's also a day that I didn't enjoy at the same time.
True triumph can only come out of true adversity. So let's hope it all balances out in about 10 months' time, as they say. COVID obviously interrupted the season significantly, and I read an interview that you did in which you kind of paid tribute, or you did pay tribute to your dad, because during COVID you went back up to Newcastle and you said the time spent with him, and that sort of helped you greatly, spending time and talking with him, correct?
Yeah, like I said in that interview, I went home and I spent about 5 months at home with sort of nothing to worry about, nothing to think about, and my mind was totally off football. Do you know what I mean? I was out with sort of my dad and my uncle on the back end of lockdown, doing sort of patio jobs for friends of the family, and sort of slaving away, just being a normal lad. And I think that time off sort of helped me reset mentally and just sort of have a good chit chat about what I want to kind of do the next sort of couple of years of my career. Really helped. A lot of people say they didn't enjoy COVID and lockdown for obvious reasons of being locked up and stuff, but for me it was a good time to spend with my family, my friends when I could, and just to kind of have a mental reset from it all, and just forget about football for a few months, which probably I'm never going to get to do again for sort of the rest of my career. It's always normally a quick turnaround of 4 to 6 weeks in the summer. And you obviously having a couple of weeks off, but then you start preparing for that next season straight away. So you never really switch off. So yeah, like I said, that time for me was brilliant, just to kind of switch off and sort of just relax for a little bit.
So what are the hopes, the ambitions now you've moved to Nottingham and joined Notts County? What's the immediate objectives for you?
Oh, I've said it in the interview when I joined. I said, for a club this size and the squad now that we have with the depth that we've brought in, winning trophies has got to be what we want to do. Well, I definitely think we could win the league and possibly win the trophy as well. I don't see why we couldn't do both in the same season. And I think that's what we've just got to look to do this season and for the forthcoming seasons coming up. Do you know what I mean? I think we've got to look to sort of win things and be a real dominant force in this league, and hopefully next year in the league above.
You've been in and around the National League a couple of years now. You've come very, very, very close with Torquay to getting out of it. You've come up and played against other teams. So you'll have seen how Sutton did it, pipping you. You saw it firsthand how Hartlepool managed to sort of grind their way out, for want of a better phrase. What do you think are the kind of the key ingredients or must-haves that you need to get out? Because numerically, this is an incredibly difficult division. You know, if you're in League Two, there are 3 automatics, and then 1 playoff from 4.
Yeah.
In this division, 1 automatic. So that's instantly 1/3 of the chances you've got. So talk me through it from a playing perspective.
I think everyone wants to know the answer to that magic question.
Obviously, this isn't definitive, but some insights that you've picked up along the way. As Torquay, you led the way, didn't you, massively? Then got hauled back, then had another go, and then didn't quite get over the finishing line.
Yeah, obviously, I think last season was, like you said, it was an up and down season. It was affected by COVID. A lot of times, I think a couple of times we were 10 points clear, but teams below us had a lot of games in hand, so it was kind of a false league table for the majority of the season. But I think it takes a mixture of obviously young and old, experience, people who have kind of been there and done that before, knows what it looks like to win a league title, know what it looks like to win a promotion through the playoffs. Having a set game plan, knowing what you're good at, what you can do, what you can't do. And I think you've just got to keep grinding games out. There's going to be times where you go places on a Tuesday night and you've just got to nick a 1-0 win and be happy with that. So, I mean, I think last year we maybe didn't do that enough, sort of grinding out results. But I think this year, with the squad we have and the depth we have off the bench, we should be able to take games by storm, really. We should be able to win a lot of games. And sort of when we get in front, we've just got to stay in front. But like I say, mix of young and old, experience, sort of knows how to get promoted, and I think we've got plenty of that here.
Very interesting adjective you used there, grinding out results. During my time at Leicester, when Martin O'Neill was the manager there, there was a word that used to be stuck on the dressing room wall, and the players would buy into it, and it'd always just be written. It was one word: grinders. Yeah, grind out a result. So it wasn't always pretty, but Martin was very, very much about getting a result, like you've just said, scrapping, battling, all of that just to get the job done. Now, I think it's fair to say Ian has a slightly different footballing philosophy to that.
Yeah.
But whichever way you cook it, you need to get a lot of wins and a lot of points, because finishing third will guarantee you promotion in League Two. You're then only in the playoffs in this division. So therefore, the points threshold to get automatic is a lot higher.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to sort of be squeaky clean for a full season, and you've got to also stay clear of injuries. I think that's another big one. But the way we sort of set things up here in doing our pre-ab every day, Huts, the S&C, looking at our sort of stats and toning things down if need be already in pre-season. I think for us, touch wood, like, we should be okay with that side of things, and I think that is a massive part of having your strongest team on the field at as much of the season as you can. Because, like you say, you need to. This season, you're probably going to be looking at, I'd say, 90, 92 points will win the league. I think so. With a couple extra games this year from last year, the closer you can get to that total, the closer you're going to be getting to sort of winning the league.
Clearly, you focus on yourselves, not the opposition. But some of the clubs here that would historically consider themselves to be Football League clubs, where they have spent 95% of their existence. Clearly, I'm thinking here Wrexham and Stockport. There's a few of those clubs that really seem to be going for it and bringing in players that you wouldn't ordinarily think would be coming into this league.
Well, obviously there's a lot of money flying around this season, like you say, with your Wrexhams and your Stockports. But if you look back a few years when Salford done the same and threw money, they didn't win the league. They went up through the playoffs.
Quite right. Yeah.
So money doesn't always buy you success. I think you've got to have the right group of players. And I think with a lot of money comes a lot of big characters, a lot of big egos in one change rooms. And sometimes that's just a recipe for disaster. So I think you've got to kind of manage your players, being clever with it, knowing who to bring in, what sort of personalities are going to match with the personalities you already got in the dressing room. And I think with the players the Gaffer's brought in here, sort of being the first one and then sort of seeing the people come through the door, I think we've got a good blend of personalities, and we've got a real good group. And do you know what I mean? I've got my fingers crossed that Stockport and Wrexham have brought in the wrong people, and money isn't going to win them the league.
Yeah, I mean, there are, in its own way, the National League is now become very, very highly pressurised, hasn't it? You know, you've probably got a higher concentration of clubs that would consider themselves to be league clubs in it now than at any other stage, and those clubs would appear to be getting their act together from a perspective of really going for it big time to get back out. You know, Grimsby, Southend would be another two we've not mentioned too much. They've got Phil Brown down at Southend that's done well. Interesting you say 92 points. You speak about camaraderie, group, the managers moulding together. What have you made of all the lads? Everyone never ceases to be amazed by Michael Doyle's fitness. I mean, I don't know whether he's taken it back a peg or two now, whether he's still been full at it in the pre-season.
Yeah, the first few sessions when we were kind of a little bit light on bodies, he was joining in, and you could sort of see why he's played till he's 40. Do you know what I mean? He's at it every day, and if people aren't pulling their weight, then he's telling them about it as well. So you can sort of see why he was captain here, and obviously why the Gaffers brought him in as assistant. Now that we've got a lot more bodies in, he's sort of dropped out the sessions and he's not joining in as much. I think he sort of wants to focus on the sort of coaching and the assistant side of things. But yeah, I think all the characters and all the sort of personalities that we've got, everyone's been really welcoming. There's no bad egg in the change room. You know, you normally go to clubs and you've got a couple of bad eggs in there, but here it seems like everyone's spot on, everyone's sound, everyone wants to work hard and improve. And I think with obviously a sort of a younger squad this year, it's just going to drive us on really. Like everyone wants to improve and everyone's given 110% in training. I was really impressed with the sort of intensity of the training that we're getting at the last couple of weeks when everyone's getting fit, and it's sort of it's just going to make you a better player every single day. Do you know what I mean? There's no one really going in and sort of just turning up just for the sake of turning up. Everyone's turning up and giving it every single bit they've got every single day. So we've got a real good group this year, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be a good, successful season.
Who are the characters then in the dressing room?
I think the big one's obviously Jim O'Brien. I think everyone knows that he's a big character, and he's loud, and he has a joke, and he's sort of one that has welcomed me in with the sort of banter side of things, which has been good. But I mean, you've got a lot of people, you've got a lot of characters in there that are leaders. Do you know what I mean? You've got Connell as well, you've got Sam, you've got Chicks, Bryn's quite more of a quiet lad, but when things need to be said, he says it, and he sort of leads more by example and things. So there's a lot of characters in the change room, and everyone seems to sort of get on really well.
Going forward, many creative options, isn't there? Obviously, Kyle is the fulcrum of it all. But you know, you throw in Kell and you throw in Ruben. They're not what you would call your typical National League type of players. I mean, are they doing worldy stuff in training?
I think quite a few people show a glimpse of something better every session or so. Do you know what I mean? So them two lads, obviously, everyone knows what they're about. They are well and truly above this level. And I think that's another thing that you need to get out of this level. You need people who are the level above or even the level above that to sort of get you out of this league. And we've got a lot of lads who are above this level. I think the full squads should be playing higher. So I think that's sort of good that we're a standard above this level every single day, which is obviously just going to help us get better and hopefully take us to that next level where we want to be next season.
I've spoken about this on some of our shows, probably for the past 2 years. It's an interesting dynamic, I think, given the stature of Notts, given the heritage as the world's oldest professional club, given the fan base, given a 20,000 seat stadium, and because Notts have never been in this division before, there is clearly, and I would be among them, there's a huge amount of expectancy from the fans because it's so fundamentally difficult to come to terms with and accept we're not in the Football League. You know, in the club's, founder members in 1888, whatever it is, without giving you a history lesson, they've only ever spent 2 years not in the Football League. That's the last two.
Yeah.
And there is, with that, I guess, a not insubstantial amount of pressure on the players because I guess fundamentally not getting promoted is almost viewed as a really we should have done. Now, as players, do you not view it in that way? Do you just play the game rather than a weight of expectation? I guess it's a bit like, I don't know, in the Northeast, Sunderland in the 3rd tier. Yeah. Last year, I know we've got financial problems, yabba, but we're too good for this division. We got players here, there, and everywhere. We don't go up automatically. We get in the playoffs, right? Oh, Lincoln, bloody hell, who are they, right? Yeah, flip it, Lincoln, a little pinprick there. God, we can't beat them. 2 legs, we're bound to beat them, with our resources, and they lose. I mean, what's that like as a player? I guess you're not experienced it at Notts yet, but you understand the point I'm making.
Yeah, of course. I think, like you say, it is a big club with a big fan base, and there's going to be expectation. And I think, like you say, it's either get promoted or it's seen as sort of a failure. But for me personally, I think the more pressure I'm under, the better I perform on a personal level. So I don't mind the sort of expectation. I don't mind coming in and people expecting me to be good week in, week out. It's what I expect of myself. I think obviously all the other lads as well, they'll have in their head that they know that we need to get promoted. I think everyone knows that in the back of the mind. I just don't think it's something that we sort of bring to the forefront of our mind every single day. We sort of know what's expected and what needs to be done to get promoted, and we kind of just go about the daily routine of working towards that. And like you say, come 10 months' time, we want to be the champions. We don't want to have to go through the lottery of the playoffs because, like you say, with Sunderland, anything can sort of happen. It's never a given. The best team doesn't always go up through the playoffs. It's sort of who turns up on the day. But like I say, I think again it comes down to the personalities you've got in the squad and how they can handle them sort of pressured situations. Like I say, a lot of lads here, I think have got promotions and have sort of done that and know what it's about. So I think for us, speaking on behalf of the group, it's not something that we sort of worry about. It's just something that we take in our stride and sort of thrive off it, really.
Very good answer. Very good. How important is, we talk about strength and conditioning, organisation, tactics. Given it's Notts County, given there's a big expectation to win half the games, 50% of the game. Yeah. What's the mental strengths or pressures when you were playing in that environment where you know, any defeat is almost treated as, bloody, how did we lose to them? You know, we should be losing to them. But clearly, every team's going to lose minimum. If you win the title, you'll lose 7 or 8, you know?
Yeah. I think it's just one of them things where you've just got to sort of look back at the game and look at what you didn't do so well and why you've lost the game. There'll always be a reason why you lost the game for one thing or another. And I think here we do a lot of video meetings and we go into great detail and depth of how we want to play. And obviously, if teams are sort of causing us a problem one week, how can we solve that the next week? So, like, it's one of them. It's just one of them things that you've just got to revert back to the basics and keep doing what you're doing every single day. And I think, like you say, the saying is the cream will always come to the top eventually. And if we keep doing what we do well, doesn't matter if you lose a game, the next 5-6 we'll go and win. So for me, it's just keep doing the right things day in, day out, and you'll always sort of get back to winning games of football, even if you win one that you probably shouldn't have. You've just got to kind of sweep it under the carpet and be mentally strong and say, all right, it was a blip, but it's a long road. It's a 40-odd game season. Like you say, you're going to lose 7 or 8 games, but you can't let that affect you in the long run. Otherwise, you'll just spiral out of control, and the next thing you know, you're sitting in the playoffs and you can't win the league anymore.
Winning is a habit. Winning is a great mentality, mindset to have. And I guess over the last 2 years, as you come to Notts, you know, very interesting. You put your hand up, want to be captain, gaffer. You've had 2 years of largely winning games, haven't you?
Yeah, well, 3 years of winning a lot of games. So it's kind of something that I want to continue doing. Hence another reason why I come here and I didn't go somewhere in the league. I want to be winning majority of games, and I want to be trying to win titles. It's just something that I'm sort of used to now and something I've had a taste of. And once you get a taste of it, you're not satisfied with anything less. And like I've said over and over again, the title is what we are aiming for and what we're sort of driving for. I mean, we had a meeting the other day of sort of a values meeting of how we want to sort of look day in, day out, training, matches, lifestyle, and like values, just in general. And the one that come out frequently is the mentality side of things. And obviously mentality is a big umbrella. A lot of things fall under that, but another thing, it's just being consistent with that sort of mentality every single day. You've got to do the right things day in, day out, and eventually you go through the hard times. And if you're doing these things right every single day, then you're going to come out on the right side of the result in the long run, I feel. So for us as a squad, we've sort of sat down, we've discussed how we see day in, day out, how it's going to look, what we expect of each other. So it's there in black and white. And if someone's not doing it, we have the license now to pull each other up on it. So like I said, not a bad egg in the group. Everyone's sort of pulling in the same direction, and everyone drives standards every single day. So it's all good, really.
What a great way to end on, Carl. Thank you ever so much indeed for your time today. It's been really enlightening. And the whole point of these kind of podcasts is to sort of scratch under the surface a little bit. You know, we see you hopefully banging them in at one end and clearing them out from corners from the other. But it's great to see kind of what makes you tick. You've spoken very well there about values. I'm sure on behalf of all Notts County fans, we wish you every success. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to do this. Thank you to Nick and to everyone at the club for allowing us the opportunity to do this. That's 2 players we've got under in the bank already, and we're not going to reveal who it is yet, but we've got a 3rd one before the season starts as well. So we're on a roll. Let's just wrap up, Carl, by wishing you every success. I'm sure you will enjoy Nottingham immensely. I'm sure Notts County fans will enjoy watching you. And as I say, if you ever need a bit of extra cross-country running, give me a shout and I'll give you a guided tour of Collick Woods, because it's only 400 yards from where your lovely abode is.
I think I'll take a pass on that one. Well, thank you very much for the offer anyway. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Carl. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.